Welcome to episode 7 of my dive dry road trip. In today's video, we're going to talk about getting absolutely owned by the ocean and why I'm such a cautious diver. Vámonos.
Come here, sweet girl. Oi. Oh, she looks so sleepy.
My name is Sarah, and I'm a scuba instructor living in my van with my trusty sidekick, Abby. During this road trip, I'm sharing my journey on becoming a dry suit diver and falling in love with cold water diving while camping around the Pacific Northwest and beyond. Join me each week for new adventures and scuba lessons. When I think about being at the ocean's mercy, there are a handful of moments that stick out in memory over the past 10 years of my diving career. I've already talked about my scariest moment while scuba diving in my Q&A video, which I'll link in the description below. So in this video, I want to expand a little bit, share some other experiences, and hopefully help you avoid getting into similar situations. Or if you do, know how to respond. But first, let's see what happened at the Salt Creek dive site in Washington. Pulling into Salt Creek Recreation Area, Tongue Point. I think I want to go this way. I've seen online that this is supposed to be one of the most beautiful dive sites in the area, or like really all the dive sites along this side of the coast are supposed to be really good. I am not really sure where I'm supposed to go. Let's figure it out. Yeah. Thought this was the spot to get into the water, but I really hope not. No. Really windy. Well, not too windy. Basically, it looks like I have to bring my tanks down this jagged rock, and I think I can place them right here and kit up. I would say that the better entry point is there because then I have a straight shot out into the kelp, but I really don't want to mess with walking along this because it's going to be really slippery. I'm going to test it out. Maybe I can lay things down here, hop in the water, and then go across the surf zone to actually go out there. Probably not the best, but honestly, the surge, I say this now, the surge is small compared to California, so I'm not super concerned about it. Of course, I say that and who knows what's going to happen. But yeah, you do have to be careful if you are going to do something like this, like going across a surf zone in full kit is not the best. You usually want to kit up and just get through the surf zone as fast as possible. So we'll see how this goes. The entrance looks a little bit tricky. So I, for once, am going to put on somewhat normal shoes. Still sandals, you know, because water, but better than my shower shoes. I'm really into these shoes because they're barefoot shoes, so that's pretty cool. I've gotten a handful of DMs and questions asking about what it's like to be a scuba diver living in a van. So I just want to invite anyone who's interested to follow me on Instagram or TikTok, where I'm sharing little things that might give you a little bit more insight. Especially on Instagram, that's where I share stories and random things that I don't end up turning into posts. I just realized how ridiculous I look. And if you really want to support my teachings here on YouTube, you can sign up for my Patreon page. There I'm sharing more details about what's going on, random stuff that I'm learning, and we're also creating a space as a community to ask questions and help each other as scuba divers. And specifically, those of you who are asking about van life and scuba diving, I did a live stream talking in detail about the lifestyle. On that platform, I'm available to every single one of you for individual questions about training, diving, equipment, all of the things. With the support of all of these people, I am slowly making my way back to being a scuba instructor full-time, so I just cannot thank you all enough. You can check out all the different tiers at the link in the pinned comment below this video. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. Still not totally sold on this idea. It looks like it's going to be really shallow. It is getting to low tide. I decided to wait and go for slack and raising. Slack should be in about an hour, so I'm taking my sweet time getting stuff put together. I'm not sold on this. I feel like I'm doing this wrong. It's gonna be great when somebody who's from here looks at what I'm doing and is like, dude, there was a way better way to get in the water. But that's just how it goes when you're exploring somewhere by yourself. So it'll be fine. The waves are like nothing. I mean, look at this. See, look. Better shoes. More traction. Yeah. And I want to say something because I know it sounds like I'm uncertain when I look at conditions and I make decisions and whatever, but that's mostly because I've been in some really messed up situations where the ocean conditions have changed, currents have changed, and it's been scary, right? So I have a level of respect for this beautiful ocean that, like, it can decide to completely me up at any point. Any point. So I never go into any of my dives with like, oh yeah, I got this, you know, like that machismo sort of thing. Like, I need to take all the precautions because in the end, she is in control. Mother Ocean is in control. Like, I'm just a little peon. Awesome diving here, but I can definitely see how this place would get crazy with a big tide exchange. I highly recommend checking out this side of the coast and do some better dive planning than I did so that you can actually catch it at high tide. And this, my friends, is why you should not leave things to dry on the wheel of your car. I am very lucky that nobody picked this up because I can't afford to keep buying gear. Oh my gosh. I feel very lucky. You all know by now that I don't consider diving to be a scary sport, but it is for sure something that should be taken seriously. I'm gonna cover a few different scenarios, however you pronounce that. Waves and boat diving. One of my first experiences with large waves was while diving on a boat in Thailand. When we jumped in, everything was calm, really easy entry, but as the dive went on, a storm blew in. When we got up to the surface, we could see that the boat was just rocking like crazy. There are a couple of ways to deal with this kind of exit. If you're a client on a guided dive, you want to keep your mask on, your regulator in, and make sure that you're organized so that when you get your spot at the ladder, you can easily climb up. If it's possible to even get on the boat without taking your fins off, just kind of like crawl up on your knees, that's even better because it's less time that you're screwing around at the surface next to the boat. As a dive guide, you always want to position yourself next to the ladder so that you can support the divers as they go up onto the boat. And here you have a couple of options. If you stay in full dive gear, then you have your regulator and access to air. The only issue with that is if you are holding on to the ladder, and if the ladder is clearing the water, then you're dealing with holding on to all of your scuba equipment weight, and that can be challenging. You will probably feel a little bit clumsy as well. So this is an option, but what I prefer to do in this kind of situation is actually go up onto the boat first, drop my gear except for my mask, and then go back down the ladder hanging onto the side so that my body weight is supporting the position of the ladder, and I can easily help other divers up onto the boat. I personally feel comfortable doing that because I do have a very strong breath hold. I feel very comfortable holding my breath. So if that's not you, then this is definitely not the option that you want to take. As people are getting up onto the boat, obviously the rest of the crew is helping them get to their spot because that can also be a dangerous place, right? When people are stumbling around the boat with their dive equipment on. So you want to make sure that the full team knows how to respond in that kind of weather. Waves and shore diving. When I first started side mount diving in California, I was a little bit naive about the conditions and my own abilities. I remember one day at the side of Lover's Point in Monterey that I tried to get in the water with only my left tank attached, and I carried in my right tank and my fins. I had watched the set of waves come through, and I thought that I had timed it appropriately, and I start to go out, but I missed my window. It took too long getting my fins and tank put together, and I just got absolutely pummeled by the waves. Luckily, that area, there isn't a lot of dangerous rock formations nearby that I could have gotten really hurt, but it definitely wasn't smart. I honestly really wish that I had video of that moment because I'm sure that it was really funny to watch from the outside. Now when I go side mount diving in a place with waves, I make sure that I have absolutely everything in place except for my fins. I inflate my wing, and with my mask on, I head out into the break in the surf, pop on my fins, and away I go. It's a little bit uncomfortable getting out there because you're waddling with all of the tank weight, but it's not as bad as getting absolutely owned by the waves and tumbling around at the shore. Ooh, this is really bright now. Oh my God. Let's fix that bad boy. Maybe. Is that better? That's still kind of bright, but I think it'll do. Finally, currents. I've talked a lot about currents on this channel, and I actually did a whole dive accidents video about currents, so I'll link that in the description below as well if you haven't seen it. And currents can be the most unsettling because depending on where you are in the world, they can change drastically and very quickly without warning. My experience with unpredictable currents definitely comes from diving in Komodo. Komodo is incredible. I highly recommend going diving there, but you want to make sure that you have a reliable dive guide who knows their stuff. There was one time at a dive site called Police Corner that really showed us who was boss. There's this beautiful overhang, and the area is a hub for lots of schooling fish and sharks, and it's an incredible dive site. But because of this overhang, you can get a sort of washing machine situation going. The beginning of the dive, it felt very normal. We dove in with slack tide and it was very calm. really beautiful dive. Then as we were getting towards our no deco limit, we started to get into position to leave the overhang and go along the reef. And that's where we realized that we had a little bit of a situation. As we neared the overhang, we found ourselves going towards an up current. And as we went, it felt manageable. So we're like, okay, let's do this. I go with two of my clients and do kind of that Mission Impossible, like, spin around. And I had to swim, find a spot on the reef to grab onto, and my clients came over and we all held on together waiting for the rest of the group. We stayed there for a significant amount of time and the divers did not come. I had one more client and my dive master. The current was picking up, and there you have to be careful because the reef starts to drop down. So it can actually take you deeper again as you go down the reef. You have to sort of swim across, but the current was really picking up. So we let go and swam across the reef to reconnect with the rest of the group. What I found out from my dive master was they watched us go into that spot, into the up current, and leave the reef. And then by the time they went, which was only like 30 seconds later, it was a very strong down current. And so they had to rock climb up the overhang and then catch the current on the top of the reef to go across. And I just want you to think about that. Like, the current goes from super strong up current to down current in that amount of time. Like, there's just no predicting that, But both of our responses were calm and correct. They got out of that overhang and did the same thing we did, and we reconvened at the surface. From there, the boat was able to approach us, and we were able to climb up the ladder back to safety. Anytime you're going into a new environment with conditions that you haven't encountered before, it is really good to go with someone who knows what they're doing. It really makes the difference in safety during the dive and also your level of enjoyment because you know that you're in good hands. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe to my channel. Also, if you want to join the Patreon community and support what I'm doing here on this channel, go check out that link in the description below. Okay, love you, bye!